Hi, this is Mike with Mountain Boys, back with another fly tying special for Drifthook Fly Fishing. And today I'm going to be tying a Half Chernobyl on a size 10 standard dry fly hook using 70 denier orange ultra thread. A note about that is that I've got 70 denier here in orange because that's what I had in stock, but you could go ahead and go with a little bit thicker, heavier thread if you want to. Body of the fly is made with cut pieces of 2 mil foam and just super glued together. A note about your super glue here is I use a liquid super glue, and the brand doesn't really matter as much as having a brush applicator tip. That'll help you out quite a bit when you're putting your foam pieces together. So the legs are some medium round rubber legs in brown, just to kind of match the upper side of the fly there. The wing is some synthetic wing material, post material. And for the tail, I'm using a little bit of crystal flash. Now, another note on the dubbing on this fly, because it has a dubbed underbody, and you also, when you're making your segments on everything, you put a little bit more dubbing around it too, is that I used a mix of ice dubbing here in UV shrimp pink, which kind of has a nice orangey color to it, as well as some super fine dry fly dubbing in the amber color here. So I guess the biggest note is there, don't be afraid to mix your dubbings sometimes if you're looking for the specific texture and consistency that you need. So other than that, since I used some of the ice dubbing, I'm not a huge fan of always using dubbing wax, but when I'm using something like ice dubbing, the dubbing wax comes in handy. And to finish it off, to lock my threads in on the whip finish, I just used Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails clear nail polish. So that's a quick rundown on all the materials that I used for this fly. So let's go ahead and tie it. Okay, so I've got my size 10 hook in the vise here. And the first step I want to do is just kind of prep my body segment here. And for that, I've got my 2 mil craft foam that I kind of cut to length here and cut to width. So the width, I went for about the width of the gape of the hook. And for the overall length, I went about twice the length of the overall hook shank there. So first step is, once you've got your 2 pieces cut how you want, go ahead and grab your super glue here, coat aside, and super glue with the brush is really the way to go. It's just a lot easier to work with. Then get your other piece, mash them together there. And when you've got them mashed together, you can do any final trim to kind of even up the bodies a little bit, make them a little more consistent with each other. I like to do kind of a narrow taper at the back end of it, and just kind of a little bit of a rounded head up at the front. So there we go, that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and set that aside for right now. Had to find my bobbin here, and I've got my 70 denier orange ultra thread. I'm just going to start my thread wrap a little bit behind the hook eye there. Snip off the excess tag end. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap back, lay down a thread body on this. I'm using 70 denier, but you could easily go for a thicker thread on this. I think that'd be just fine. This is what I happen to have in stock for orange right now. So like I've said before, work around your materials, tie with what you've got. I'm going to grab 2 strands of crystal flash now. I'm going to kind of even up the ends here. I'm going to fold them over in half. I've got them folded in half, snip, and I'm going to fold them in half again, and that'll give us enough flash material for the little undertail that we're going to put on this guy, and we'll have enough for a second fly too. So maybe I'm going to go up to the ends. Maybe I'll just even up the ends right there a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and tie these into place. Just like that. Go ahead and cover them over and go back to the end here. Actually, I'm going to go up front and forward. This fly has a lot of back and forth steps, so it's kind of easy to forget where you're at and what's coming next. So now I've just got a little teeny tiny piece of my orange foam here, and I kind of picket fenced, pointed the one end of it there where I'm going to tie in. And tie this a little bit behind the eye there. Make sure it's nice and secure. Now I'm going to put some tension on it. And I'm going to make some wraps back while I've got tension on it and keeping it on top of the hook there. And I'm going to bring it back to where I had my tail tied in. And holding tension on it this whole time. And make sure you put enough thread wraps to keep it secure. Go ahead and tie that in. Now it's time to dub. Use your superfine dubbing, get your color close, and you can mix your dubbings. So here I've got some of the ice dubbing in shrimp pink. And you can see I've got it there in my hands. This stuff is pretty long, pretty coarse. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to give it a couple snips with my scissors. Now I'm going to grab a pinch of the amber dubbing out of my superfine dry, and I'm going to mix the two. Just get a dab of dubbing wax on your thumb and forefinger, and now go ahead and make your noodle with this. And you find that when you do it this way, you get kind of the benefits of the superfine. It'll go onto the thread nice, and you get some of that extra texture and sparkle from the ice dubbing. So don't be afraid to mix your dubbings sometimes. So once that's done, got my noodle, I'm going to start wrapping it forward. Just like that. If you have to, you can grab your noodle there and kind of pinch it as you wrap it just to keep it all in place. And I had just enough. So now I'm going to back off right now, maybe about a third of the way back on that hook shank. And this is where we're going to tie in our big foam body piece here. So again, I'm going to come in with a little bit of super glue, and I'm going to draw a line of super glue right here on top where it's going to attach to that dubbing body right there. That'll just kind of help hold things together again. This is a fly that you don't want to be stingy with your super glue. So once you've got it on kind of where you want, you can be careful because as soon as you set it down, it'll set, and it is where it is. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a few wraps to kind of define that body segment in the foam. And you can see I extended a little bit past the hook eye here, as well as kind of far back off the end of the hook. So this is maybe a little bit long. I might end up trimming it down just a little bit at the end, but I'll wait till the end until I do that. So now for wing, I'm just going to use some synthetic parapost. I'm going to cut myself about, 1.5 inch long piece. Lay that on top, more or less in half. Catch it in a couple wraps, and then double it back over and make a few more wraps. So there's our wing and indicator there. Next, it's time for the rubber legs, and I've got medium Wapsi rubber legs here in brown. You know, use your favorite variety of legs, whatever you like. I like to, again, have about a 2-inch long leg to start with. So I'll get about a 4-inch piece folded in half. I'm going to lay that right on top. Just like this. Again, 4 or 5 wraps. Now, I'm going to grab the ends, the sides here, and I'm going to pull them down so where they're on the edge of the body. Just like that. So there we go. Once they're where I want them, I'll kind of pinch the front half together like that, and I'll go ahead and split that loop. Now, and this isn't strictly necessary, but I find that, you know, my wing here is kind of doubled over, and it'll tend to want to just kind of split like that, like right in the middle where it's tied in. So I like to grab another little thin piece of foam, thin little strip of foam, and you only need about, I don't know, maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. Cut off a little piece there. Put a little bit more super glue, just barely on one end of it there. And that super glued end, go ahead and hold your wing down and put that right on the body segment, the foam body, and it'll kind of just grab right there and hold right there. So what this will do is it'll kind of help keep your wing back and looking like a single wing, and it'll also give you an extra little bit of indicator when you're on top, when it's on top of the water there. So, okay, that's good. Make sure my legs are kind of still more or less where I want them. That's tied in. Now I'm going to grab a little bit more dubbing. Pinch of my ice dubbing. A little bit of a pinch of my superfine. Here, just a little bit on the thumb and forefinger. Go ahead and make another noodle. A little bit less dubbing than what we used before. Let's go ahead and run that up. We're going to make a couple wraps with this around our segment here to just kind of hide our orange thread a little bit. So maybe 2 or 3 tight wraps with that. Hold the end of your fly up like that, bring it back to the front, and now it's time to whip finish. So for this, again, hold that head of the foam back and do 4 or 5 turn whip finish there. Pull it taut, snip it off, secure the threads. Again, I just use a little bit of clear nail polish there on that whip finish head. Just a little bit. Bingo. And now we can kind of do some manicuring on this fly to get everything how we want. I'll go ahead and start with the wing. Now I know I want the wing here. I just need enough to be visible on top of the water for me to see it, so I'm going to go a little bit shorter than the end of that body there, just like that. For the crystal flash, I'm going to keep, before we do the crystal flash and before we do the legs, it might be time to decide that if we've got the body exactly how we want. So I think it might be a little bit long on the head here, so I might take a little bit of material off the head of that fly, and I'll just round out the corners again. Just like that. And the tail might be just a little bit long, so I might take just a little bit of material off the tail too. There we go. Alright, so now that I'm happy with the overall length of my foam body there, I'm going to go ahead and cut my crystal flash just a little bit beyond the end of that there. And put this aside. That's enough to do another fly with. Now for the legs, same thing. I'll just kind of hold the back legs into the body. Give them just a little bit of tension maybe. And I want these two just to be a little bit longer than the end of that body, so I'll just snip those off just like that. Now I'll grab the front legs, and I want them to extend just a little bit past the head. So snip those off too. Make sure they're kind of oriented how I want and everything else. And I might do kind of a final check to make sure my wing is all seated how I want, my legs are seated how I want, and where I want on the edges of the body there. And there you go. There is a orange and black Half Chernobyl.